Welcome to Ability MKENow on River West Radio. My name is Sue Roskoff, and we are here with Ability MKENow, a show all about integration, where we are bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have different abilities. Here at Ability MKENow, we dive into this topic of diverse abilities, showcasing and sharing a variety of aspects of ability-related topics. Now, the concept of a disability hits a wide range of possibilities, right? We could be talking about physical or mental disabilities, the deaf and hard of hearing community, blindness, chronic pain, a mental health diagnosis, goals of substance use reduction, and the list goes on. There are so many different aspects to the concept of disability. We are excited to share information and stories and so forth, where we are focusing on this integration and things that apply to everybody. So, and with that, I'm so excited that we have some wonderful guests with us this evening. And I'm actually going to pass the baton over to Emily. So Emily Golmer's with us here as usual this evening, and she's going to give us an introduction to our first guest. So Emily, over to you.
All right, everybody. Our first guest is Phil Vetrano from New York, who started the Helpopedia group that Kurt and I have been participating in for the last, I don't know, like month or two. And he helps high school and college students with the whole career thing and finding colleges and other like employment, that kind of thing. So I am going to hand over to Phil. Phil, would you like to introduce yourself and say who you are, what you do, and that kind of thing?
Excellent. Thank you, Emily, for the introduction, and thanks for having me. Thank you, Sue, for the invite as well. My name is Phil Vetrano. I'm an independent college and career coach, helping students and families navigate the overwhelming college and career process. And I'm excited to be here. I also started a group called Helpopedia, where we are starting a youth movement to really make an impact and make a difference in the world to help them be prepared for life, college, and career, because there is no Parent 101, there's no Parent 102, and parents need as much support as they can. They've never been through a pandemic before, and so this is a blind spot for them, and they're facing a lot of different challenges and issues within the pandemic that they weren't prepared for. So here's an opportunity to surround yourself with a dream team of subjects and professionals to address the gaps that they have to support them and their families.
And that's huge, because I know people don't know what they don't know. You know, there's a big gap between all what they've been doing in high school and the day-to-day that's been pretty static here over all the years. It's dynamic in its own ways, but it's what they already know and expect and understand. That jump to college it's a little different animal. It's not that scary of a thing necessarily. It's just a matter of getting that knowledge in hand to know, what is this all about? How does this work? What do I need to know? And what you're doing is a huge service. Because I work at a university, and I get that from students a lot of, well, how do I know? How was I supposed to know this? You know, so I'm excited to hear of what you're doing, because there's definitely a need out there for that. So I know from what I'm understanding too, there is a piece that of what you're doing with the Helpopedia. What are the pieces of both things that you're doing right now? If you can give us a little flavor of both aspects of the planning and vision that you do, and also with Helpopedia. I'm real curious of how they perhaps interplay, and I'd like to hear more.
Sure, excellent. So I'll share the story. In 2014, my son was a sophomore in high school, and I was in front of a guidance counselor, and he said it's never too early to start planning for college. So I'm a project manager. I'm an IT guy. I'm an analyst. So this is a project. This is something that I'm loving. This is exciting. This is new. And so I'm diving in to help my son, Anthony, with this big endeavor. And wanted to make sure that, if we're going to spend the money, and, college prices are extraordinary. They average $40,000 per year. That's $160,000 if they graduate on time. Most students do not graduate on time. In fact, only 58% students will actually graduate within 6 years. So the other 42%, they're dropping out, they're not graduating, they're not finishing on time, they're changing their majors, they run out of money, all these things. But that's 8 million students in the last 10 years. So this is a big problem that I've identified, but a lot of people aren't talking about it. So what we're really doing as a society, we're not setting up our kids for success. And that's a big gap. And I'm here to make a difference. And the Helpopedia initiative is about surrounding myself with professionals who provide that education for the parents and the students, because I'm not an expert in everything. And so what do? I tap into experts to provide them that the parents and the students the opportunity to meet with them so that they can be prepared for this big transition from high school to college, because it is night and day. And as long as we're here, we're helping them with the goal of being prepared for college and knowing what that looks like, knowing how to select the colleges, knowing what a great fit is, as opposed to someone's opinion of a college. Oh, that's a great school. And that's the end of the conversation. And so that's not the right way to do analysis and count on somebody's opinion to think that we're going to use national rankings. National rankings has nothing to do with the individual. This is not an individual national ranking. It is a popularity contest. And that has nothing to do with the students' goals, doesn't have anything to do with their majors. It is just a ranking of a school that people buy into, because what else do they have? They haven't been shown what's the roadmap to do this. They've not been taught. So there's the gap that I address. And I've built myself around other people who could help other students and parents.
Excellent. Oh, you're totally ringing bells here with me with experience I've had firsthand with students. I actually get to meet them once they're actually in college, and then I hear a lot of stories of sometimes it's a great smooth and it's not the roller coaster, but not for everybody. Everybody's got their own story. It's all different for each student, and they may have a parent that works at a university. They may come from a family who nobody's gone to a university. There's the whole gamut there that you got to meet people where they're at. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing, and filling that gap of where they are to where they need to be. And that's huge.
Yes.
So I'm going to bounce over here back to Emily. I know we do have another guest that's joined us, and I would love to have her come and join this conversation too. So Emily, would you introduce Sandy so that we know who she is? And I'm excited to hear more about Sandy too.
Okay, we have Sandy Abate from Iowa. She has her own business of SCA Bookkeeping LLC and helps people with bookkeeping everything but taxes, everything up until taxes. And she's also a co-host at H&P Iowa. So Sandy, would you like to come in here and kind of introduce yourself a little bit, say who you are, what you do, and that kind of thing?
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Emily. So yes, like you said, I do bookkeeping services, but even more than that, I actually go in there and train people. I can sit there and take that person that's maybe just leaving college there, or not transitioning from the high school into the college, and they're scared and they don't know necessarily if they're ready for that actual employment, but they have a fabulous talent that they can share, and grow that into a business. I can sit there and coach them a little bit on how to get a business started, and just why that bookkeeping's important and those steps on how to get there, get those books in order.
Excellent, because that is a skill that is not often taught along the way through high school and whatnot. That's a huge piece of the puzzle here. So, and actually, I'm kind of curious, Phil, with what your experience has been along the way with your conversations with students and parents. Have you found that to be something of an issue along the way, that just understanding the finances and how that works, and the aspect of personal finance, and because college is a big undertaking in many levels. Is that something that you've encountered as being a strong topic?
Yeah, so we actually have a list of 99 skills that are pretty much gaps, and financial literacy is one of them. And it's not, that you're not taking a finance class in high school, and you're not taking how to manage your credit in high school. So the personal finance is definitely a big gap. And it's probably why 70% of the population of the US is managing paycheck to paycheck. It's because they didn't take that understanding of cash flow management and how to balance statements and how to manage their credit. So these are gaps that we continue working on, and we have folks in the financial literacy side that promote and educate families and students on it.
Excellent. And Sandy, is that something that you see as well then? Are you, because I know even with dealing with financial aid applications, people need to take into account and have a good feel for their own finances in order to fill out those forms and to do all that. Is that something you're encountering a lot?
It is, and that was kind of even what made me start the bookkeeping business. Was I was working in a job where I was seeing a lot of small business owners that had no clue what their numbers were. They were just sitting there at the end of the year going, those are the businesses that really struggle. And so, we need to get the word out and get them educated on, the importance, and when they do see those statements, what do those statements mean? So yeah, there's a lot of education that needs to be taught.
Perfect. Yeah. I'm thinking, as you're talking about small business, I want to bring Patty into the conversation here too, because I know a good friend of the show, Patty Ernest, is here joining us as well. So Patty, do you want to hop in and give a quick intro, who you are, what you do, and want to bring you into the conversation too?
Thank you, Sue. So my name is Patty Ernest, and I am owner manager of Patty's Paper Pet Sitting here in the Phoenix area. I go into people's homes and pet sit their kids. Phil, I want to jump in the discussion. I came in the middle of it, and I want to make sure I heard what you said. Are you talking about the test scores versus how the students actually perform in school? Did I hear that correctly?
No, we haven't mentioned anything about test scores. There's life skills and just preparing them for college and understanding what they're signing up to. It's a blind spot for them. They've never done this before, but we're putting on the shoulders of a 17-year-old what decisions they're going to make. And a college decision is a career-related decision, and they don't get out much to understand all the options that they have and what careers they could explore. And a lot of students go undecided, and the parents say, oh, they'll figure it out when they get there. Well, guess what? That's not the goal of the college, to help your student figure out what they want to do. So this is a gap, and it's understanding purpose. It's why you want to go to college. It's not about getting you into college. It's why you're going there. And so if they don't have the answer to that question, they're reducing their success, their likelihood of success in achieving what it is that they're doing there. They're going through the motions. They may not be happy. I just had a college student. She hates school. She hates college. She hates going to classes. And guess what she wants to do? She wants to be a bookkeeper. And guess what? You don't need a college degree to be a bookkeeper. And this is something that she's interested in. And so now she's opting out, and that's okay. She did a career test, and it was her top 4 career choice. So aligning that But what she did, she wasted her time trying out 10 classes to see if she can figure it out. But it wasn't necessary. So the testing was not a conversation, and testing has, right, and I think you probably know this, has nothing to do with preparing a student to optimize their time, determining purpose, and everything else about it. It's just a good indicator for colleges how bright you are, because you're all taking the same standardized test. And math works. Let's take the highest scores, because that's an easy project to work on that I can compare one student to the other. When the pandemic hit, oh my goodness, admissions was besides themselves, because they no longer had that number to use to help them with the decision making. And so now, the whole testing thing is optional. Does that answer your question, or do you have a different question?
Yeah, no, you pretty well hit on it. I was just going to add, those test scores can be insignificant. There are some students who don't do well on the testing. I'm one of them. If it had been my test scores, I never would have gone to college. I graduated magna cum laude, and I wasn't prepared either. Thank you. I was not prepared for school. So my parents said, you are going to have an education. You are going to have something that we didn't have. Okay, and my dad swore that he wished he'd been able to get a college education. He would have been that much further ahead. But he was more determined. He knew exactly what his course he was going to follow. So I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And this is coming from somebody who graduated magna. So yeah, definitely.
Well, and actually, if you want to do the favor of, for anybody who's listening who doesn't know what that term means, what does that mean?
So there are 3 levels of graduating with honor. Cum laude is the Latin phrase meaning with honor. Magna cum laude means with high honor, and summa cum laude means with highest honor. I missed graduating summa cum laude by an earth science course that I was required to take.
I feel that one. There's probably a lot of people that have similar stories like that, where it was that one class that was probably not anything to do with what you were majoring in, and that made the difference in that. But still, that's admirable to be graduating with high honors like that. That's wonderful. And for students to understand too, even what is one thing I've encountered multiple times is undergraduate versus the terminology of undergraduate or graduate, or what do you mean by a graduate degree? What that is something that I've encountered a lot as well, just to understand basic terminology of what college even means. You're already here and you don't know. I didn't when I was in college. I did not know exactly that terminology. I had to figure it out while I was there until I finally asked the right person who said, oh, well, this is what it is. It's really simple, but until somebody says, undergraduate, that's that bachelor's degree. That's it. If you're going on for a master's or a doctorate, now you're talking graduate degrees. Until somebody says it out loud, people just assume you know stuff that if nobody told you, how do you know?
By asking the right questions and knowing who to ask them of.
And that's why I'm so glad Phil's around, that he's answering that gap. Because and that's part of why Ability MKENow exists, because that's a big piece of it. Of a lot of times people don't know what they don't know. They often know they're missing information. There's something out there somehow, and we're hoping to connect the dots for people on whatever it is. Everybody's in a different place in life. Everybody is not looking for the same goals. We all are individuals, and that's something that we've all dealt with over time, with understanding what is our own strength, what is my ability, what is my goal, what is all those pieces that what part of what this show deals with all the time. Where can I showcase my ability? What does that look like? Because for every person is different. And so I'm going to bounce that back to Phil. Actually, what are you seeing with people as they come to you are they focused on that at all? Are they looking at, hey, these are my abilities, these are my strengths, or is that something that you're trying to help them figure out?
Yeah, so I have this methodology where I ask them 43 questions to understand what their goals are, because they've not asked these questions themselves. Generally, the goal is for them is they want to go to college. And what I say to them is, well, if your first day that you go to college, congratulations, you've just completed your goal. Is that really your goal, to just go to college? And so I asked them 43 questions to really understand purpose and their goals. And when I ask these questions, they understand them. They just haven't identified that this is something that they want to achieve. And I use my business skills to help me with the students. And instead of me servicing managers and executives, I treat the student like they are the CEO of their career. And I'm providing them the analysis and the information and the guidance to help them accomplish their goals. So I asked them 43 questions, really understand what they are, and then they're documenting them so that they are working off of them. And the more really important thing, they share these goals with the people they're surrounded with, and they tell them so that they can be helped and supported by the folks that care about them to help them accomplish their goals. And
I like it.
excellent. And the wanting to share two things. So Mark Twain said there's two best days of your life: the day you're born and the day you figure out your purpose.
Why? Yep.
And so guess what's not a goal for 8th graders, 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, 12th graders? They don't have the goal to figure out their purpose. And if you don't have a goal to figure out your purpose and understand what you're passionate about, guess what's going to happen? You're going to go through life and this motion of process of just going with the flow, instead of having that goal to explore, to have a mission, to say, I want to figure this out. And if you're so fortunate, there are a lot of students that actually figure this out. They want to be a nurse. They want to be an accountant. They want, and they've experienced it. They want to be a dentist. And they go through it and they complete it. And they are very fortunate. When you know what you want and you go after it, life is a lot easier. When you don't know what you want, life is really hard. 80%, I saw a survey, 80% of adults don't like what they do. Let's solve that problem by helping the youth figure it out. Give them the roadmap. We have a roadmap to help them figure this out, because it can be done. And what happens is, oh, it's it's the United States. You have a freedom of choice. You have all this opportunity. Well, guess what? We don't have a plan for you to figure this out. It's an overwhelming thing. And guess what? It's like the privilege of right, that passage, that you have to figure out this by yourself. Well, that's not true. Let's break that myth and get the support and the help that they need to really know and understand their purpose, because high school is not going to do it for them. Thanks.
So how do people reach out to you if they want to? How do they contact you if they want to?
So the information is, I shared it, my email's in the chat, and I know they can't see it, but it's phil@planningandvision.com, and that's how they could reach out to me.
Perfect. Yeah, so phil@planningandvision.com. That's perfect. So if anybody does have questions, they have a way to get those answered. That's perfect. And I know one thing I often hear from students as well is, once they're in college, they have that whole aspect of Life 101. I wish there was a class called Life 101 so I could just understand the skills, and which is really what you are alluding to with all of this, to understand all those pieces. And that brings in, like with what Sandy, with what you do as well, understanding the importance of bookkeeping and understanding what that means in their life. Actually, do you have some more thoughts to share as far as that goes, Sandy? Because I think that's such a huge thing that gets missed as students enter into adulthood. Why should I care? You know, I got cash in my pocket. What else do I need to worry about?
I will sit there and just kind of going off of what Phil was saying there, to really know what your why is, why you're passionate about what you're doing. Now I sat there and I had always worked myself into management positions, and I loved that, going in early in the morning and getting books done. I got to the point though that I got out of that and did a very rewarding 8 years, um, helping people, um, when they were in the hospital, getting their hospital bill paid, which was great. I always felt great at the end, but I realized that what I was missing was the books. I wasn't doing anyone's books anymore. And so knowing what that purpose is, knowing why you're here, that is so important. And, you know, I know a lot of those patients that I saw that were small business owners, they really struggled when the pandemic hit, because they didn't have those books in order. So, it all really goes down to finding out what you're good at, what you don't want to do, and then finding someone to do what you don't want to do.
That's
And
perfect.
that's true with business as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely true with business, that not everybody is good at everything, and knowing what you're capable of or what you're not capable of, and being able to find the person who can do, or people, or team who can do what it is that you need to have done along the way. That's so important. I totally agree with you, Sandy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to that whole concept of abilities too, and what abilities you have and where your strengths lie. So, and actually, I know Kurt's popping in here too. We don't want to go by the entire show here without saying hi to Kurt. So I was wondering if you had a thought to share before the end here. Come on in real quick.
Yes, so this is a great testimony to the vision we set out for 6 years ago. And we started Ability MKENow. And again, a shout out to Marty Hagedorn from Youth Rising Up, that celebration of inner city youth, and that we as cities and communities and regions can do a lot better in this dynamic, that a lot matters by your zip code. And so we're addressing all of these matters right here at River West Radio, and getting this information out and empowering people through information, education, and entertainment. So for me, this is very rewarding to see things from like Patty's Pampered Pet Services, to make sure all of the, pets all around are taken care of. And there's a little bit of a question of, who do you know in Phoenix? Because Patty's from Phoenix. And then Sandy from Iowa. Wow, we have that H&P Iowa celebration tomorrow. 2 years of H&P Iowa. And Phil, we're looking forward to being with him on our Friday meetings. So just a lot represented here, and kudos to our co-hosts, our leading ladies, Emily and Sue. Sue, back to you.
Yeah, this has been a wonderful conversation this evening. I can't thank you all enough for being here, and I hope you can join us again on a future episode, that we're able to continue the conversation and even dig a little deeper here in these topics, because it is so important. And even the one topic I'd love to talk more about too is students that would have some type of a disability, and the extra challenges that they end up facing as they're looking at college. It goes, they've got just an extra layer in there, and I would love to continue that conversation. So my name is Sue Roskoff, and as always, we're so glad to be here at River West Radio, and from all of us, we thank you.